Penny, you're the one. Penny, you're the one. Penny, you're the one.
And now, it's time for another episode of the 12-Man Fan Jam Show. A show made by 12s from around the world, for 12s around the world. I'm Mosette, and here is your host and my dad, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Yes, thank you, Mosette. And welcome, everyone, to episode 604, the 2018 Postdraft Edition of your 12-Man Fan Jam Show, as we sit down and talk about the 2018 Seattle Seahawks draft class. And hey, what can I tell you? This draft had all the feels. There's no doubt about it. Wow, our 129th episode. Hard to believe. We have a full house in the posse this evening. First, of course, from merry old England, the yin to my yang, it is Matt. Hi, Matt.
Good morning, Moses. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Matt. How are you?
I'm stressed.
Oh, you're stressed. Why are you
Yeah,
stressed?
I've run out of tea. Got no tea.
Oh, my God.
How can
You're
I
in
be British
England?
without any tea?
You're in England? You have no
I'm
tea.
practically Scottish now. It's a nightmare.
For all of our Scottish friends, that was Matty Moore. Matty Moore, you can
You can say
contact.
whatever name you like.
Yeah.
Matty Moore,
in
backup
this case.
quarterback for Miami for
Yeah, no kidding. Also on the posse is our news hound, Will. Hi, Will.
Hi, Moses. How are you?
I'm just wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well. I've got plenty of tea, so I'm good.
You know, I
rub
do
it
too
in.
now that I'm thinking about it. I actually do, but it's not the real tea, I guess you'd say. Oh, look, there's Dustin over there. Hi, Dustin.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Family left out of town a few hours ago. It's just me and my bitch hanging out.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, that's my
And-
6-month-old puppy, Belgian
And we're
Malinois.
off. What's the name of the dog?
Kona.
Kona.
Here, Kona. Here, girl.
Which I think Kona, which in Spanish I think means bitch, right? Am I close?
No, it's actually
No.
a Hawaiian name.
Oh,
That was actually the
it means
compromise
pineapple. Then.
because
It means pineapple in Hawaiian. Am I right?
maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a compromise though, because there's a Kona brewing company that I like, and there's also Kona coffee, and my wife's a big coffee fan, so that's how we kind of compromised.
That's it's funny you should say that because my dog is named Starbucks. So who
The
knew?
dog is called White Castle.
It's state law. You have to eat them. And also from sunny California, look, there's Statsman Mark. Statsman Mark's here. Hi, Mark.
How you doing there, Dennis?
I'm fine. How are you? You sound a little
I just-
choked up. You okay?
Well, I just have to always constantly clear the phlegm from all the crappy food I've been eating. I'm doing well, though.
Good.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I
How's,
like how.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I like how Dustin is single-handedly trying to take America back with that attitude. I like that.
Yes. Yes, you
we
gotta
do
love
need
that.
more of that.
We do need more of that. And hey, be on your best behavior because we actually have a guest this evening. In the guest chair this evening, making his very first appearance on our show. A moderator from Seahawks Net, a place that I love that has just put up with me for years. The host of a podcast of his own and creator of HawkTalk.com, a site of forums and podcasts and a lot of great Seahawks stuff about your Seattle Seahawks. Please welcome also from merry old England, Chris Chaney. Hi, Chris.
Hello, how is everyone?
Wonderful. Thanks
well.
for being so brave
Good.
as to stick with us during the show.
No, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Hey,
Yeah.
God, it's a...
I think the burning question for him is, how did he get the movie trailer guy to do the intro for his podcast? Because that sounds pretty awesome.
there you go.
Money.
In a world.
money.
That'll do it.
He's got a budget.
So
We should
tell us a
look
little
into that,
bit.
guys.
If people have not been to hawktalk.com, hawktalk.com, and it's hawk-talk.com, what are they going to find when they go there?
Well, obviously you've got field goals, you've got Hawk Blogger, and they're sort of more, well, especially field goals, it's more sort of breaking news. And I don't really get involved in all that. It's more about a place to air my thoughts, I guess, and put my thoughts into writing, I guess. So it's basically just a website of my ramblings, effectively.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
You cannot have enough of those Seahawk fans out there putting their voices to things. I think that's fantastic. If you go to his webpage, and it is a wonderful webpage, by the way, there's forums, there's all kinds of good stuff. If you go to the bottom of the homepage, there are some testimonials, and I just have to bring these up. How did that come about, Chris, the testimonials?
I was talking to a 49er fan on Twitter, and he said a few nights. He said, it started off as a bit of bit of banter between us, and then he started saying some quite nice things about the Seahawks, and it just sort of inspired me. So I just barefaced lied about all four of them, basically.
I figured it looks like business professionals, like on their LinkedIn accounts.
Yes, it really is.
Box standard Google images of people.
I'm going to read one real quick. Mason Landry says about hawktalk.com. I decided to burn all the 49er jerseys and replace them with the likes of Largett Chandler and ET3 and, of course, Russell Wilson. If Jimmy G had even the slightest chance to develop into 1/10 of the quarterback that Russ is, I'd probably stay with the Niners. However, the reality struck here, and here I am. Go Hawks.
Wow.
And there's four of them. They're
Twitter,
fantastic.
The outrage I did a little screenshot, put it on Twitter, and the amount of people that thought it was genuine, and all these fans had transitioned over to the 49ers
They thought it was
for the
real.
Seahawks was alarming. I was concerned. I was like, guys, I'm joking.
That's awesome.
That is amazing. Wonderful webpage.
Thank you.
And we're so glad that you're here to join us. A little crossover, you could say. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say about the draft picks and all of us.
Yeah.
So let's get started, Fergie.
Let's get it started in here.
All right, gentlemen, let's get this party started in here. The show's run like real NFL football game. We have 4 quarters and even a halftime. Quarter one, we'll do news. We'll also have a rant by me at the end of the first quarter because I lost the draft challenge to Will, and we'll have that at the end. Quarter two will be rounds 1, 3, and 4. The picks that the Seahawks had in those rounds. Halftime is the best Seahawk-themed trivia game on the internet. 12-man Fan Jam Show halftime trivia.
Of the world.
Of the world. Dustin won last week. You got your hands full this week, man.
Oh, well, there's a lot of people here,
I'm
but
not going to lie.
that's okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
I still have the power of the Google, man.
You better not be Googling. Quarter 3, we'll talk about our 5th round picks. In quarter 4, we will talk about our 6th and 7th round picks and talk about the undrafted free agents. Before we start, please like, share, and subscribe to the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel. Join our Facebook group, 12-Man Fan Jam Show. A lot of fun on there. We're on Twitter at Seahawk Positivity. Our email is 12manfanjamshow@gmail.com. Also, we're podcast version is uploading this year for the first time on Podbean. The address is the 12manfanjamshow.podbean.com. You can also find them on iTunes. When you see the video is uploaded, that's about the time that the podcast will be uploaded with the same stuff. So, all right, let's get to the first quarter and news. Yes, news from around the NFL with our news hound Will. It's the 12-Man Fan Jam Show News Report brought to you by this week's sponsor, the Cleveland Brown Running a Pro Franchise for Dummies series of books. Yes, show your football friends that you can draft just like the pros, or at least like these bozos by the mistake by the lake. Pin your franchise on an arrogant child that runs from the cops. Keep a coach that's won 1 game in 2 years. Change your uniforms to resemble a poor college team. Yes, have a parade to flaunt an 0-16 season. Alienate your diehard fans by these and oh so many other foolproof ideas destined for mediocrity. It's the Cleveland Brown Running a Pro Franchise for Dummies series of books. Johnny Manziel shot glass, sold separately. Will, what you got for us?
Well, Moses, there's been a lot made of Rich Sherman's comments after leaving the Seahawks to sign with the 49ers, but things could be worse. The Washington Redskins this past Monday cut defensive tackle A.J. Francis, who turned around and signed with the Giants 2 days later. And he did not hesitate to take some shots against his former team. Francis posted a picture of himself on Instagram laughing with the caption, "When the team you were on didn't appreciate you, but the team you played against actually pays attention to the film." He then added several.
Oh!
Nice.
He then added several hashtags, including hashtag, and one of the hashtags was "and your logo is racist."
Okay.
Oh, wow!
He went further in a podcast this past Wednesday,
Naturally.
saying that he had spoken with Jim Tomsula, who's their defensive line coach, and Tomsula had told him going into OTAs that he had pictured Francis as the starting nose tackle. Well, that was Thursday. He was fired 5 days later. That whole situation was terrible, Francis said. I am so grateful that I'm out of there because they don't care about the film. They don't care about who can actually play football. They only care about themselves.
Wow.
Wow.
So that should be an interesting couple of games this year.
I thought
Well-
you were going to say he talked about his experience overseas and having to do topless photo shoots and be an escort.
Nice segue.
That happened
Dustin.
to some cheerleaders, I believe it or not.
Yes. Thankfully,
Ooh.
thankfully for the old mental images, AJ Francis was not a part of that.
Yeah, it's funny. I did find real quick, I found the Redskins' response here. They held a press conference to respond to AJ Francis, basically. They said,
Lighten up, Francis.
so that's pretty much all they said. Lighten up, Francis. The movie
Nice.
Stripes, everybody. If you have never seen an old 80s movie, there you go.
Dennis
Mark?
the Great Warren Oates.
Mark,
The
that's
actor.
why you're here. I
Russian
mean,
Hulk.
bless your heart, because my old
I tell you,
references.
He's got
You know,
all
no-
the references, but just got none of the trivia answers. Do you know what I mean? It's just astonishing.
It's true.
It,
It's-
He's a
That's true.
veritable encyclopedia of useless knowledge.
There's nothing better.
The Rain,
and-
the Rain Man app works both ways. So it just kicks in at the oddest times.
And we
Nice.
kind of know from experience that there's nothing that burns a fan base more than seeing someone immediately signed to your rival, right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Richard who?
That will burn a little bit.
It's awesome that he's playing for him. It's going to be so much fun. Sorry.
Yeah, that makes those games fun. No doubt about it. Speaking of fun, Will, what else you got for us?
Well, I've got another pair of division rivals, this time the Eagles and the Cowboys. On day 2 of the draft, Philadelphia traded up to pick 49 to pick tight end Dallas Goedert, who many people thought would be going to the Cowboys at pick number 50. Whether or not the Cowboys would have picked him is up for debate, but there's one Philly fan who likes the player, just not the player's name. An as yet unnamed Eagles fan has started a GoFundMe trying to raise money to convince Dallas Goedert to change his name because he cannot stand having a player on the Philadelphia Eagles with the name
What?
Dallas.
Gracious.
Now, his actual name is not out there. If you go to the GoFundMe site, which Dennis, you have a link for that, I believe.
I do.
If you go to the GoFundMe site, the name of the person who set it up is given as Peter Griffin. Who, if that is his real name, that's perfect. If not, it still is. He was hoping to raise $1,200. As of 6:00 Friday night, he'd raised $5. But I highly recommend going to the GoFundMe and scrolling down to look at the comments, because not only are they hysterical, but the one guy who actually donated is a Cowboys fan who donated $1 for every championship the Cowboys have won. So
snap.
Nice.
Sweet.
Snap. That was the highlight of the draft, was it not, when David Akers came out? And
Yeah.
Yes.
That was good.
Amazing
That was
speech.
so awesome.
I was like,
You
get
look-
him on the phone right now.
He looks like Adam Sandler. I mean, he was like this total geek, but he was like killing it.
Yeah, he was. He
Happened
was.
last year as
how
well, didn't
bad
it?
is that when you're being trash talked by a kicker, though? I mean,
Yeah,
seriously.
no kidding. No kidding. What'd you say, Chris?
It happened last year as well, didn't it? But the other way around, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it did. It's kind of becoming a thing now where
Drew
people
Pearson
are trash
taunted the
talking.
Eagles fans.
Yes.
The tradition is starting.
The tradition is starting. It's starting to be a little WWE coming in. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hey, Will, thanks for the news.
Anytime, Moses.
And usually that's the end of the first quarter. God, I wish it was the end of the first quarter.
We do too.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, it's not the end of the first quarter because last show we do a draft challenge. We had draft picks, and I had a mock draft, and Will had a mock draft, and whoever had most of our players picked by the Seahawks would write something for the other one to read at the end of the first quarter for this episode. And so long story short here, as Uma's going to tell us, Uma.
You and I have unfinished business.
Well, you and I have unfinished business. Basically, I have to read your rant because you picked Shaquille O'Neal, not Shaquille O'Neal.
Go, use your letters.
Not the 7-foot center. You picked Shaquem Griffin in the fourth round. You went in the fifth, and you picked Poona Ford, who is an undrafted free agent. And none of my guys made it. So you won, hands down. I conceded and gave you a nice concession note where I said, "You lucky bastard," and then you wrote this for me. So we will end the first quarter with this. Hi, this is Moses with the 12-Man Fan Jam Show, and I'm here to talk about a problem that is afflicting far too many Ram, 49er, and Cardinal fans, even as we speak. It's called off-season bandwagon syndrome. It can strike without warning, turning even the most jaded ticket holder or pundit into a gushing fanboy, simply from hearing that the Rams signed Ndamukong Suh, the 49ers extended Jimmy Garoppolo, or that the Cardinals drafted Josh Rosen. Symptoms of OBS may include delusions of grandeur, loss of higher brain function, and general jackassery. If you or a loved one suffer from OBS, it's easy to feel like a return to reality just isn't possible. But now there's help. It's called Get a Clue. Just one dose of Get a Clue per hour is all it takes to pierce the fabric of self-deception over the Rams, 49ers, and Cardinals prospects and see life as it really is. Don't set yourself up for another bitter season of loss and disappointment. Ask your doctor if Get a Clue is right for you today. Side effects Get a Clue may include the following: dizziness, shortness of breath, vomiting, high blood pressure, nausea, diarrhea, loss of motor control, rectal bleeding, internal bleeding, bleeding gums, ingrown toenails, hallucinations, blue urine, rapid eye blinking, gambling addiction, vanishing fingerprints, or death. Women who are pregnant or may become pregnant should not take Get a Clue or handle broken tablets. Tell your doctor if you experience an erection lasting longer than 4 hours while taking Get a Clue. Get a Clue. The real world is calling. Come back to it. And that's the end of the first quarter.
It's the end of the first quarter, bitches.
Well played.
And now we will all get a clue as we end the first quarter. Thank you, Will, for the news.
You're welcome.
Coming up in the second quarter, we're going to start talking about this draft that the Seahawks had. A very special post-draft episode, 12-Man Fan Jam Show. We'll be right back after this.
You're listening to the 12-Man Fan Jam Show on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
Go to a store, buy a hat, and get ready to hold the onto it. We're not kidding.
Holy shit, it's the second quarter.
So here we are at the second quarter of episode 604, our post-draft episode. We're going to talk about the first and third and fourth round pick the Seahawks had in the recent 2018 NFL draft. First round, they had the 18th pick, and then they kind of slid down from the 18th pick, and they went to the 27th pick to the surprise of really nobody, and drafted someone that was a surprise to everybody, and Rashad Penny, running back out of San Diego State. Chris, tell us why this was a great or a terrible pick, or what your thoughts are on Penny.
Well, I mean, it was a shock at first. I mean, I did think that they'd be going running back either in the first or second round, obviously depending on any trades or how the trade downs worked. But Rashad Penny wasn't on my he was on my radar a while ago, and I sort of sidetracked from him a bit. Got too focused on Nick Chubb. But I mean, in terms of Rashad Penny, I mean, he's probably probably the second most reliable running back out of the class. He breaks tackles. He's got really, really good patience, fast. I mean, he has everything that you want in an NFL back. I mean, the biggest knock on him is his pass protection, but he wasn't. Most college running backs have issues in pass protection. Outside of Ezekiel Elliott, I can't remember a running back that was any good at pass protection. It's very coachable. So, I mean, people have been questioning whether he's a free down back, off the get go in the NFL. And, I think he is. I think he'll pick up the pass protection over camp. He's going to be learning from all the guys. Chris Carson's a pretty good pass protector. He'll be learning from him. So I really like the pick. I don't necessarily like the value of a running back in the first round, but it addresses a need, doesn't it? So I'm certainly not mad at the excuse me. I'm certainly not mad at the selection at all.
Yeah, I thought the first thing I did was I jumped online and started looking at highlights, and the first thing that struck to me was this kid is amazingly fast.
Yeah, he's really, really good, and he's patient as well. So he's like the sort of Le'Veon Bell. He won't just do a Thomas Rawls and burst through the line and crash into a lineman. He'll wait for a hole to develop, and with this offensive line, he might be waiting a while, but at least he has the patience.
Very true. Will, what was your thought?
Well, like everybody else, I was surprised, but it's one of those things in retrospect. You do a little bit more research, you look at the highlights, and it just seems obvious in retrospect. I mean, not only do you have a guy, like Chris was saying, a patient runner, somebody with a lot of speed, a lot of ability, but you get a durable runner. And you look at our backs the last couple of years, and Thomas Rawls has been banged up all the time. Chris Carson only played 4 games. CJ Procise. Eddie Lacy wasn't banged up. That would have been an improvement. But so you get a great running back, and you get a durable running back. And you look at some of the backs that were ranked more highly by the quote unquote experts, and a lot of them have durability problems. So that's one thing I really like about Penny's game, and it's going to be fun to watch this kid play.
I agree. Dustin, what are your thoughts?
When we first picked him, I didn't know who he was, so the first thing I did was go and look him up, and I like that he's 5'11" and about 220 pounds, so he's got good NFL size for a running back. And I like that he's a 3-down back. He can catch the ball well, and he can run well. The only thing that I didn't like about him watching his highlights is that he looks like he runs tall to me. It seems like he has a high pad level when he runs, and that can bite you in the butt. It can lead to some fumbles and turnovers and stuff like that, but I wasn't surprised they took a running back, because a lot of the focus has been on upping the running game. Yep. And then something we overlooked here, which I think is great, is that we didn't pick him at 18. We were able to trade back, get some extra picks, and then also draft the guy they wanted, because they said they would have drafted him at 18 also. So,
well, I got to ask this question real quick. Is there anybody out there that I when we had that 18th pick, and I thought, and I'll get to Mark and Maddie here in a minute, but we had that 18th pick, and Derwin James should have been gone in the top 10, we all thought. And I watched his highlights. I'm like, that's Cam Chancellor, the second coming.
Yeah.
And we get to 17, and I'm thinking, holy shnikes, this guy may fall to us. I'm thinking, keep the pick and get Derwin James. Did anybody else think that? Was anybody thinking, oh my God, Derwin James might fall to us at 18?
Yeah, it kind of felt that way. If he had, I would have wanted to take him, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
I was laughing at Cowboys fans that, I mean, I was with obviously all the Earl Thomas trade rumors. I popped on a few Cowboys forums, and the amount of guys that said we should just, stay and pick Derwin James. I was thinking, you idiots. He's gonna be long gone. He's probably going to go to number 7 to, I think it's Tampa Bay.
Yeah, right.
Amazing.
And he went all the way to 17.
I was sweating that a little bit, because it's like,
yeah,
please tell me the Cowboys are not going to get to James.
Oh my God, that's scary. So, Mark, it wasn't an offensive lineman, but what are your thoughts?
Well, it didn't necessarily have to be an offensive lineman, right away. No, you know what? I like the pick. I mean, once I learned who it was, and I have a friend out here who's an alumni of San Diego State, the Aztecs, and he knows this guy well. He's a high character kid. I think if it doesn't work, it's not going to be for a lack of mental effort and working hard. I mean, this kid is a winner.
Definitely true.
This kid is a winner, and I'll take his testimony, on that.
Love it.
But I like the pick. And in terms of pass protection, if he learns how to pass protect for 0.9 seconds, he's already kind of ahead of the game. And I think he's smart enough to achieve that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Well said.
He is a smart guy. He's a really smart guy.
Yeah, he is. Maddie, you were slept through that first round, right?
Well, yeah, a great other, number of British American football fans, or Seahawk fans. I was asleep when this pick happened. Because we don't pick in the first round, because that would be un-Seahawks like and out of character and not what I was expecting at all. Yeah. So I merrily put up a Facebook post, turned into bed, used my last tea bag, had a cup of tea, went to bed, woke up, and we'd made a bloody pick. I was
livid. Crumpets?
And crumpets, because we always eat crumpets at 3 a.m.
There's nothing like a little tea bag in before bed.
Honestly. I do charge. No, the important thing to this is the whole thing about the penny trade was that we had so many needs on this team that when we said that we drafted a running back, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, because we need one, so let's have one. And I agree. I hope he's not. He's not going to have the whole problem of running into his own players like a Thomas Rawls and just sort of face planting every time he runs into the line. So. Let's see what happens. I was happy about it though, and I agree with Dustin. I'm glad that we got we got some picks for it as well. So
yeah, I think it's hard to not be happy that they addressed the running game because they tried a little bit on the offensive line. They brought in Fluker and the new line coach and got rid of Tom Cable, which I think is a huge blessing in all honesty. Then they drafted a running back high, which means they have a lot of faith in this guy. So I think that the fact that they started addressing the run game early and often, I think is a great thing. Yeah. Oh, and they brought in old dude from tight end from Carolina.
Ed Dixon.
Yeah.
Ed Dixon.
But we had so many needs. I mean, we could have drafted a new pro shop manager. We probably need one of those as well. So
right.
Just
there wasn't a lot of good ones in the draft. Was not a deep draft for pro shop manager.
It was not. No,
there was not a lot of merchandising.
Next year's draft class, though. Woo!
Go for that one.
I think as well. Another thing that excuse me. Another thing that really jumps out, at the pick is outside of Barkley, the guys, John and Pete had literally the pick of the bunch. They could have gone with any single running back. So the fact they went with Penny.
Well, I think
absolutely.
How high
I think it shows how far everybody had Geis way high, and he had some issue problems, and he was kind of late to meetings and kind of had I don't care attitude. That cost him a little bit. A lot of people thought we would get Darius, and he fell rather far. Yeah,
he supposedly had a shouting match with the Eagles.
Oh, really?
Interesting. Oh, good for him.
That's not good. Yeah. One last thing on Penny, and then we'll move on. I looking over film on Penny, I saw his combine when he was on the combine on NFL Network, and I thought it kind of spoke volumes when Mike Mayock was doing it, and he goes, "Here comes Rashad Penny. He's a really good running back out of San Diego State. Like him a lot." And he ran his 40, and you hear Mike Mayock literally go, "Oh, I've got him too low." He goes, "I probably got this kid too low."
That he ran,
and my ears went up. I'm like, and I think maybe because he played at San Diego State, people didn't have him as high as they probably thought because of competition. But he goes, "Oh, I think I have him too low." And I thought, wow, that's pretty telling. Third round, Chris, Rasheem Green, defensive end of Southern California, kind of a poor man's Michael Bennett, I'm hearing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are comparing him to Michael Bennett, and I get it because he did play, the sort of inside-out role at college, but he didn't seem to enjoy playing inside. I don't think he's young. He's really young. I think he's turning 21 this month, I think. So he's a really young guy. So, but I'm not sure sort of guards and centers. I think he wants to play predominantly in the 5 technique, rushing from the outside of the defensive end position. And I think one of the reasons he didn't go back to college for his final year is because they planned on using him inside even more. Mm-hmm. So when I get that he has the ability to rush from the inside as well as the outside. So I get the Michael Bennett comparison, but I'm not convinced he would like the Michael Bennett comparison.
Yeah.
No, I think he wants to.
Well, and we'll see too. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe with the right words or the right kind of persuasion and maybe a little extra money here or there, he may be a little bit more apt to do it. Who knows?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Will, what's your thoughts on Mr. Green?
Well, I thought it was great. I mean, if we had wound up with a second-round pick and him there, that would not have been a reach in the slightest. The guy's got a lot of potential. He's still growing into it. Probably came out of college a year earlier than he should have. Part of the issue with playing inside at USC was they were playing him at nose tackle a lot too. So they may not have been utilizing him as well as they could have. But you look at Green, and he needs to get a little stronger, develop a little bit more. But the potential is off around, and that's a good position to gamble on some upside.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot of him, I think, as a rotational player this year. But if he can take the next step forward, this could be a pretty serious steal down the line.
Yeah, really
AFC Scouts said an AFC scout said that if he would have gone back to college for another year, he'd have probably been a top 10 pick next year.
Wow, and he's going to a
That's
very,
the sort of,
you
that's
know,
the sort of potential.
So
he's
if we
going
do
to
our
a great
jobs,
defensive
we get a
mind in
top
Pete
10
Carroll.
pick in the 3rd round.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mark, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, I like what I've heard about him. You know, I do not follow NCAA ball, so. But you know what? I mean, I like that he picked for that position. I mean, you know, we're you know, there's a lot of things to retool defensively, and yeah, I like that pick. You know, and I guess there's an injury history in being Seahawk fans. We just all know. Sometimes, man, it's like the 10-to-1 shot hits, and it's like, oh, great. You know, like somebody's really healthy in college, a little injury history. So hopefully, whatever it is, a knee, I think it was. Like that we picked for that position too.
Dustin, what are your thoughts?
Well, like Mark, I don't watch a lot of college ball, but I'm more of a see who they draft and then look into him kind of guy.
That's what I do.
And he sure seems like he's a Michael Bennett kind of. There's what they envision. And like Chris was saying, he's a good 5 technique player. And in case there's anybody ever listening to the podcast and you're not exactly sure what that means, you just hear the term 5 technique, 3 technique, 0 technique, whatever. 5 technique basically means the middle of your body is lined up on the outside shoulder of the offensive tackle, just so you know. So
okay.
That's how that works.
All right.
And, you know, he had 10 sacks last season and 12.5 tackles for loss. The dude is disruptive.
He seems he likes to be disruptive, yes.
Yeah, we need disruptive. So he fits right in for a need that we definitely had when we lost both Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett. So I'm all aboard on this pick.
I agree. Maddie?
Yeah, I don't like his eyebrows.
Oh,
He's got really strong eyebrows. It's like he's been attacked by big pieces of charcoal, maybe some Sharpies have gone in there and it's gone like really big eyebrows. It's just unnecessary. I mean, that could be toned down a little bit, but we know John can work on that, I'm sure, and get that sorted out. He's got a lot of potential. He'll grow into him, I'm sure.
It just takes coaching.
It takes coaching for that.
Looks like he should have played on the '85 Bears team, doesn't he?
Does he look like a mass murder? He looks a little bit like a mass murder.
He should be doing that Super Bowl shuffle, man.
Caterpillar mustache. Yeah, it's kind of creepy now I think about it.
But no, look at that mugshot. It's not great.
You know, I keep the poor music handy. All right, Chris. 4th round pick, tight end from West Washington named Will Dissly. The best. They're saying the best blocking tight end in the draft. What are your thoughts?
He is my favourite Seahawks. Well, that's a lie. He's my second favourite Seahawks pick out of all 9 of them. Amazing. You know, we kept on hearing Pete and John bang on about smart, tough, reliable football players. Will Dissly is literally, he's tough, he's smart, and he's reliable. Yeah. I think he's going to have a much bigger impact in year 1 than a lot of people are pegging him to have. He's basically Zach Miller too. I mean, if you look at the combine results of the two, Dissly is slightly behind in just about everything, but marginally, you know, really small. So in terms of the testing, they're pretty much the same player. And it's one thing I didn't really notice beforehand, but John was saying in one of the press conferences how good his hands are. So I think, you know, everyone's seeing him as a pure blocking tight end, and he is a fantastic, really good blocking tight end, especially in the run game. But he does, you know, I can see him being used in the, you know, getting the initial block off and then running a quick, you know, short intermediate ball and grabbing, you know, 10-15 yards. And once he's got the ball in his hands, he's off. You know, you can't bring the guy down. He's massive, he's strong, he's brilliant.
Fantastic.
Really high on this pick.
Yeah, that's great. And I read that the locker talk is he's one of the hardest working players his teammates have ever seen, which is awesome. Dustin, your thoughts?
I liked it a lot too because I think it's a good scheme fit for us. Because then it's kind of a deceptive scheme fit because like Chris was talking about with his hands, we got essentially right now player or personnel to where we can have a 2 tight end set and both of the tight ends are solid blockers for running and the running back Penny is solid runner, but they all also have the ability to go out and catch pass, which keeps the defense on their toes. They have to play honest because you don't know if they're actually going to run the ball, even though that personnel is out there. They're good at multiple things. So I love that pick because it just helps the offense. It helps Russell Wilson, and it helps disguise what's going on. So I love it 100%. That's a great pick.
Well,
it's funny. The people that have criticized this pick tend to say that, oh, well, it's just a blocking tight end. They grow on trees. Well, who knows how to block in college football anymore? I mean, that's been a big part of our problem finding offensive linemen is having to train them up to block at this level.
And anything that grows, it's 265 pounds and grows a tree, that tree, it's just going to tip over. So I don't agree.
But I think finding a really good blocking tight end isn't as easy as some of the critics make it seem.
Great.
But yeah, I've watched Disley play. I like his hands too, and it's going to be a good pick. I think you pair him up with Dixon this year, and then if you let Dixon go next year, I think Disley can step in and be our inline tight end for the next 5 years.
Excellent.
All that being said, he defensive end for his first 2 years in college. They're probably going to convert him.
That's what we do. Mark.
Yeah.
That would be perfect if we converted this guy in the spirit of for me, this is where I did have a bit of a problem because I really didn't understand that pick at this point, given where we were at with our overall picks. And this is a pretty high pick for us. And this is where I would have liked to have gone maybe offensive line, and then hearing about him. I mean, he sounds like a solid player, but, I was, I don't know. I wasn't too thrilled, but, hey, we have him and I hope it works out well. And also, since we did sign Dixon, I was a little bit confused in the amount of money we gave Dixon. I don't know. This one was a little bit interesting, I thought. But, I know it sounds like he's a good player.
Think about it like this. We had Tom Cable last few years, and Tom Cable has that zone blocking scheme, which is confusing to a lot of players and makes it difficult. Obviously, some of our linemen are not the smartest guys because they can't block people in that scheme. With Mike Solari coming in and Schottenheimer coming in, the offensive line scheme is going to be more of like a power guy in front of you. You hit the guy in front of you and you drive him back. When you're blocking. So
it's just crazy enough to work.
It might.
So you take a guy like a Fee who was ridiculous last year in a bad way, and you put him in a new scheme with a new coach. What I'm saying is that I think those players, a lot of them were out of scheme. But now that we have a different scheme and a different coach, I think some of those guys, or a lot of those guys, are going to perform better than they did in previous years. I don't think it was talent necessarily that was lacking, but it was guys for the system that was lacking. It makes more sense when you look at it like that. They're going to have to figure this one. They're going to, they'll learn pretty quickly how the new scheme goes. I mean, it takes a while to learn, but they really got to start to figure this thing out because it's just, again, I call it a Kelly Jennings syndrome, and this is hanging on to a project that just ultimately may not go anywhere. And I just don't want them to hang on too long.
I don't think they've hung on to anything. I mean, they got a new offensive line coach. They got a new offensive coordinator.
No. I mean, Infetti. It's. Anyway.
That's as long as they get rid of him. Maddie, what's your choice? What's your thought?
I love this pick. I mean, me and tight ends, but
he's no good
in a non-funny way. In a non-funny way.
Yeah, he's no good.
We've been talking about getting a tight ends that can block properly for Jimmy Graham couldn't catch or block. But man. 6'4", 262 pounds, and I was like, "That's a tight end." Jeez, home to Washington, and he's got lots of great things about him. The only thing I'm going to say about him, though, he's ginger, pale skin. Got to make sure he gets that UV protection on because he's going to burn like a bit crisp if he's not careful. But yeah, I mean, he's got some really good stats. I didn't expect us to take a tight end at this point. I have to say, I was expecting us to go towards offensive line, so I was a bit more sort of moving towards Mark at that point. But getting him now, I'm really happy with it. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah. All right. Well, that will end the second quarter. Let's go to halftime.
Holy shit, it's halftime!
Just ahead in the spotlight, a lot more show as we roll along on this episode. Do twins have a secret language? Is Mel Kiper just a hologram? Are the Browns already on the clock for the 2019 NFL Draft? Yes, The answer to these and so many questions coming up. But right now, it's time for 12-Man Fan Jam Show halftime trivia, and that is next!
You're listening to the 12-Man Fan Jam Show on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
Yes, it's halftime, and welcome to another fun-filled edition of the best play-along Seahawk-themed trivia game show on the internet. It's time for 12-Man Fan Jam Show halftime trivia. And here's your host, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church of Seahawk Positivity. Yes, thank you, me, and welcome to another fine edition of 12-Man Fan Jam Show halftime trivia of the world. The trivia game that tests the knowledge of both our posse and our listeners. Our contestants are the posse themselves. Matt, Will, Dustin, Mark, Chris, and EA are the Ools Ray. So here's how the trivia game works. There'll be 2 rounds of questions. Each contestant answers 1 question each round. If they get it correct, they get 1 point. After 2 rounds of questions, there'll be a final trivia question worth 2 points. If there's a tie after that, then the tie players go on to a special secret overtime question where the winner becomes reigning 12-man Fan Jam Show trivia champion and also gets a prize chosen especially for them. As an added bonus to those listening on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel, the questions and possible answers will be displayed on your screen so you, the viewer and listener, can play along as well. If you do, please let us know how you did on the questions. Remember, there's no Googling, no phone a friend, and please, no wagering. However, there is a lifeline. Before taping this show, my 2 charming Seahawk fan children, Mosette and Little Mo, did take the quiz as well. If the contestants want to know what the kids said, they can ask that but once and only once during the entire game show and only in the first 2 rounds. Now let's get ready to play 12-Man Fan Jam Show halftime trivia. All right, you know the rules. You can ask the kids once in the first 2 rounds. No Googling, no phone a friend, no cheating, no looking at notes of any kind. The topic is Seahawks drafting. Getting to know the players a little bit. Chris, you are our guest, so you get to pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I will go with 1, please.
Ooh. 1. Dustin is our returning champ. 2, 3, 4, 5.
5.
Matt?
What was left?
2, 3, 4, Matt.
The rest of
the kids.
2, 3, 4. The kids say.
Pay any attention at all.
Pay attention. 2, 3, and 4, Matt.
I'll have 3, please.
3.
I'll ask the kids.
I was miles away. It's 3 in the morning. I've got no tea. I can't cope.
Hey, Mark. 2 or 4?
4.
All right. That leaves Will with number 2. All right, Chris. You might get this one. Are you ready? Oh, by the way, of course, there's always one question out of the round that isn't exactly football related. We all know that. All right.
What?
Okay.
It's like tap dancing on a landmine. Chris, you have a football question. It's about our friend Rashad Penny. And it is, how many touchdowns receiving did Rashad Penny have at San Diego State? 6, 7, or 8? Dance!
8.
Ooh, straight in.
Listen to that. Boom!
Don't mess about.
8 receiving touchdowns for Rashad Penny at San Diego State. That folks, that's how you answer. It's 6.
Oh,
nailed it.
Dennis, you're playing my song.
Oh Lord, I love it.
I believe him. I say give him the point.
Yeah, whatever. You run your show your way. Will,
Yes, sir.
yours is not a football question.
I think I had, what did I have, 7 non-football questions straight at one point?
Probably something like that. You know, we did draft Shaquem Griffin, and so we have twins on our team. So
Twinsies.
in the 1988 movie Twins, what is the last name of the twins played by Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger? Are they the Bartlett twins, the Benedict twins, or the Jones twins?
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen that movie.
Bartlett twins, Benedict twins, or Jones twins?
Bartlett.
Nah, Bartlett. That's how you answer. Bartlett.
I don't know.
Nah, Benedict. Sorry, Benedict was the answer. Yeah. Matt,
Yes.
you have a football question.
Mm-hmm.
It is about Rasheem Green, and my question for you is: in 2017, against what team did Rasheem Green have the most sacks? Was it Arizona State, Texas, or Washington State? The most sacks against Arizona State, Texas, or Washington State for Rasheem Green?
Washington State.
Washington State. Washington State. I'm sorry. He had 3 sacks against Arizona State,
Oof.
1.5 against Washington State, and 1 against Texas. So
Do we know a lot about our draft picks? We do our research.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We're off to a
See, I would
running
have
start.
guessed Washington State too, seeing as how they throw 90 times a game.
Yeah, that's true.
same here.
Good point. Mark,
Yes, sir.
your question's about Will Dissly, your favorite pick. That's poetic justice there. Hey, Mark. Will Dissly scored his only touchdown playing against what team last year? Arizona State, Fresno State, or Montana? Dissly's only touchdown catch against Arizona State, Fresno State, or Montana?
I'm going to say Arizona State.
He's going to say Arizona State.
I heard him. He said it.
Right, I think.
What did he say?
No, it's Montana. And
he's
that's,
right.
by the way, where he's from, too, which was kind of cool.
It's just that same familiar song all over again.
Montana. Who said that? Who did that? Montana.
Me? I was saying it like Cartman. I was trying to. It's from the South
That was
Park
nice.
movie.
That was nice. Well done. If you're done playing games, you can answer a question now.
Oh, it's withering, isn't it?
Hey, Dustin.
Good creature.
Yeah, what's up?
Trey Flowers. We haven't talked
I know
about
him.
yet. Yeah. Trey Flowers made the most solo tackles last season against what team? Oklahoma, Tulsa, or Virginia Tech? Trey Flowers, most solo tackles against Oklahoma, Tulsa, or Virginia Tech?
How am I supposed to know that?
I don't know.
I'll say Tulsa.
Google it.
Type it into Google.
Oh, good
Don't-
point. I should have Googled it.
All right. You said, what'd you say?
I said I should have Googled it.
Yeah. Now it's Virginia Tech.
We
I
are
don't know
so
what you said,
crap,
but you were
gents.
wrong.
I'm going to tell you. This is the worst round of trivia ever.
What
happened
It's
to your
a
live?
time off. We go to round 2. I will
Mark, you are
start.
still in this, I tell you.
Chris.
Named
Six-
after me.
Chris, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
6.
6 for Chris. Dustin, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10.
Matt,
7.
7, 8, or 9.
7. I'm listening now.
Okay. Mark, 8 or 9.
9. Plain.
And then Will has 8. Do you guys do the same order? Bastards.
Nope.
No, you didn't. Okay.
No.
Matt and I flipped, so.
All right, Chris, you have a football question. You'll probably get this one. I think we're gonna have our first point right here. Here
That's
we go.
unfortunate.
It's about Jamarco Jones, which I personally think the name Jamarco Jones sounds like something you get at Starbucks, right? I want a grande Jamarco Jones. Jamarco Jones.
With skin, though.
Yeah. Jamarco Jones, what number did he wear at Ohio State? 72, 74, or 76?
Oh, come
I don't
on.
know. God. 76.
76.
Yeah.
That's the spirit.
74.
It's
So
just like
we could have been the researchers for Cleveland Brown picking him. We are totally there. He's a tackle, isn't he?
He's going to wear 73,
Well,
I think, with us, by the way.
Well, I was the homeless person on the street who told Jimmy Haslam to draft Johnny Manziel. So.
One of our best stories ever.
I love it.
Matt.
Oh, I haven't got a football question, have I?
Well, you have a football question, but it's not about the Seahawks. Here we go.
Ah,
It
shit.
is another twin question. Tiki and Rondé Barber were twins that played in the NFL. How many combined Pro Bowl selections
No, how the
did the
fuck am I
twins
supposed to
Tiki and
know
Rondé
this?
have in the NFL? 6, 7, or 8. How many Pro Bowls for Tiki and Rondé Barber? 6, 7, or 8.
It's 3 a.m. I've got no tea, and he's asking me questions about people that aren't even anyone that's on my. I'll ask the kids. Give me the kids.
You ask the kids?
Because the kids are going to know this.
Well, okay. Mosette said 7. Little Mo said 8.
8. I'll go with Little Mo. Little Mo's
Whoa,
right.
damn. He said 8. Yes!
Yes!
What
Wow.
just
Ladies
happened?
and gentlemen.
It's on the
Nice.
board.
Little Mo pinch hits and
How about that? Well done.
Well done, Little Mo.
Yeah, 8. 5 for Rondé and 3 for Tiki for keeping score at home. Okay, Will.
Yes,
we
sir.
have a ball player now from Temple on the team that was drafted.
That's
What
true.
former Seahawk player also played football at Temple?
Oh.
Was it Raheem Brock? Raheem Brock? Was it Chris Clemens or was it Dwight Freeney? Who played at Temple? Raheem Brock, Chris Clemens, or Dwight Freeney?
I'll ask the kids.
He'll ask the kids. Mosette said Raheem Brock. Little Mo said Chris Clemens.
I'm going to go with Little Mo, too. Chris Clemens.
You feel good.
Mo.
Good idea.
Matt likes it. Everyone likes it. It's not right.
Damn you, Little Mo!
Mosette had it. Raheem Brock. Raheem
Sometimes
Brock.
the things are the most wrong feel the most right, guys.
I know.
Yeah, most
that's
times,
some
really.
deep stuff there.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yes.
We drafted a quarterback from Florida International. What
From
current-
an airport.
Oh my god.
Make sure your offensive linemen are in their upright and locked position.
Yeah, he worked for TSA, yeah.
It's Florida International.
Be careful. Be
It
careful.
sounds like a
jockstrap.
bad 70s TV show too. Florida this week on Florida International.
It
All right.
does.
Hey, you know what, Dennis? Really quickly, I didn't give them clearance to make this pick in the 7th round. Oh man,
my God.
that's sharp Tillamook chatter right there. That's something else. All right.
Well, Mark, who else in the NFL played at Florida International University? Was it Antonio Brown, T.Y. Hilton, or Emmanuel Sanders? Who else played at Florida International? Antonio Brown, T.Y. Hilton, or Emmanuel Sanders?
Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown. Mark, your doorbell. You get doorbell. No, it was T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton. All right, Dustin. It's pretty open field here. Matt has a point, and everyone else is just sitting here. Here we go.
We're all losers.
Dustin, the good news is I don't think there'll be an overtime. All right. Hey, Dustin.
Yeah.
When is the last year the Seahawks used 9 picks in the NFL draft? The last time they had 9 picks in the NFL draft, was it 2012, 2013, or 2014?
2012 sounds nice. I have no idea. I don't keep stats on those kind of things, so. Or wait, ask the kids.
That
Let's
was
ask
a
the
great
kids
chorus
Ask
of
them. Go ahead,
whining
ask them.
Now wait a minute here. Now you're gonna.
You gave your answer.
I'm gonna keep my answer. I just want to hear what the kid said.
Mosette said 2012. Little Mo said 2014.
You know what? Screw Little Mo. We'll go Mosette.
Yeah. Screw Little Mo, huh?
You tell him to stop winning things when we do
Hey,
our
guess
predictions.
you got it right. Little Mo, it's 2014. Mic
Figures
drop.
the one he gets wrong is the one that I picked for.
Such a jerk.
All right.
Yeah.
It's time for the final question. Here's the final question. Here's how
And
it
it
works.
can't come soon enough.
I know.
Yeah.
High low. Oh my god. All right. High low. Closest without going over gets the 2 points and the championship. There will be no tie, so I have to worry about overtime. If everybody's over, whoever's closest will get it. The order is the following: Will, Mark, Dustin, Chris, Maddie. All right. And here is your question. You guys still there?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
No.
The audience
This is like
isn't, but
tense.
we're still here.
Yeah. Well. All right, Will. Here you go. Your question is this. It's about our punter, Michael Dixon. How many times did Michael Dixon punt in his career in Texas? How many times did Michael Dixon actually punt for the Texas Longhorns? Will?
51.
Mark?
Okay, he was a 4-year player. Do we get to know that much?
Nope.
He was no.
I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, I know. I kind of just gave it away there. Jeez.
No,
it's
nope,
gotta
I'm not
be.
gonna tell you.
It's got to be way higher than that. Hold on, just a moment.
Oh my God! Just for
Okay.
pie. Carry the
something.
three.
105.
You've got to think of something. And you got to think of something.
105. 105.
Dustin,
What?
how many times did Michael Dixon punt for the Texans? What?
It sounds like he was doing an errand or working on something.
I'm sorry.
What were the other answers?
Did I break
Just
your
51 and then 308. What were the answers?
51 and 105.
Oh, I don't know. 75. I'll say 75.
Chris.
Yeah, unmute your mic, Chris.
That's all right. We'll go to Matt. Matt.
What?
There he is. Chris.
Oh, Chris. Hold on.
Sorry.
Chris. How many times
Sorry.
did Michael Dixon punt for the Texas Longhorns?
In
Longhorns?
total?
Yeah, total.
Oh, God. 180.
Ooh, 180. All right. Maddie?
So we've got 75, 151.
Wait. 51, 75, 105, 180.
180.
Isn't 151
Ooh.
steak sauce?
That is
No,
like,
I could use some 151 right now.
that is spread about. So 51, 75, 105,
105.
180. Who the hell do your price is right in a situation like this?
No, just probably.
I'll go 106.
106. All right. Our probably future punter, in all likelihood.
Punted 3 times.
That was a salary cap for sure. He punted 8 times.
For the Texas Longhorns, his career, he got a lot of practice. He punted 226 times.
Wow.
Uh-oh. He comes in. He walks out with a championship belt. Chris Chaney, it's God's plan, buddy. Congratulations.
Marvelous.
Thank you very much. It's an honor.
Just to let you know,
Excellent.
Chris, it is off season, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. Okay, so Chris, this is how trivia works. Now we're really going to do it.
Every time Matt loses, he says that.
Only during the off season.
Every time Matt wins, he buys a trophy.
But as you're British, I'll give you my trophy supply details.
Lovely, thank you.
That's insane. That's an average like 5 times a game for his entire
Oh, yeah.
tenure.
Yeah, it's awful. Like, he
Wow.
punted
Oh, my
11 times
God.
in that Pro Bowl, if you remember. Or that Pro Bowl, but the Texas Bowl, which we'll
Bowl
talk
game.
about coming up.
Well,
Yeah.
see, his
Wow.
legs already worn out, so we shouldn't have drafted him.
Okay. So
My
anyway,
mileage.
It's like a pitch count.
congratulations, Chris. Fantastic work.
Thank you.
Yes, well done.
Yes, and this has been another crowd-pleasing, heart-stopping, award-winning edition of your 12-man Fan Jam Show halftime trivia
Of the world.
of the world. We'll be back with the second half of the show right after this. Drake, take us out.
Bad things. It's a lot of bad things that they wish and they wish and they wish.
You're listening to the 12-Man Fan Jam Show on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Holy shit, it's the third quarter.
Yes, welcome to the third quarter of your 12-man Fan Jam Show. Hey, you! Yes, you, looking for that undrafted gem. Like, share, and subscribe to the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel. Find us on iTunes. Find us on Podbean. Join our Facebook group, 12-Man Fan Jam Show. Do it now before the Seahawks draft another punter. Oh, no, too late. All right. We're going to look at the 5th round picks in this quarter. Got a little chippy after halftime. I had to separate the posse a little bit. Things were said. Got a little chippy. Just
You got to
saying.
work on your phrasing.
You're going
man.
down, Moses.
Now, see, Dustin, the returning champ doesn't win, and, it just, I don't know.
Like
It was
the
not pretty.
backstage WWE stuff goes on.
It was
He
a
went-
little bit.
He went full Des Bryant, though. Do you know what I mean?
He went a little Des Bryant.
Oof.
He got in the coaches' faces. All right.
Stormed off into
I
the
got
locker
cut
room,
too.
threw his helmet.
So for that, we're going to let the champ. Congratulations again, Chris. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about 5th round. Now, we are going to hold off on Shaquem Griffin because, of course, everyone wants to talk about Shaquem Griffin. And I'm going to let you finish. But before we go there, let's talk about the other 5th round picks. Let's start with Trey Flowers. Chris, your thought on Trey Flowers?
Yeah, he's the safety to cornerback convert. His arm length is ridiculous. So he's 33 and 7'8", so it's a shade short of 34, which is ridiculous. I think he's 6'3", 202 pounds, so he's literally the perfect mold for a Pete Carroll cornerback.
He really is.
Quarterback then, but I guess he is good, not bad.
No, he's got to be 4'2".
Offensive lineman.
Yeah, he seems. I'm not convinced he's going to get much playing time in year one. He's probably going to be, learning the techniques. But he could be the perfect Byron Maxwell replacement.
He really could. Great size on this guy, Will.
Well, he definitely looks the part. Of course, so did another day 3 cornerback we took a couple of years ago named
Maddie's favorite.
Daryl Simon. Yeah.
I tell you what, if he punches somebody in preseason and gets sent off, I'm leaving. I'm done.
But
I don't think you're going to get that here.
One of the things they rave about Trey Flowers is the guy's smart. The guy picks up on schemes very quickly. So I don't think it's out of the question that he can take to this position change. And if he can, I mean, we may not have our Byron Maxwell replacement. We may have our Richard Sherman replacement. Not in terms of overall talent, probably, but in terms of the big, rangy cornerback who maybe is not the fastest guy out there, but is always in the right position. So it's going to be fun to watch this guy, what this guy can do. And I'm with Chris. I wouldn't expect much out of him this year, but next year, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Dustin?
Yeah, he fits the mold for a cornerback for us. Reading his draft prospects and where he should be picked up and like strengths and weaknesses, that was kind of interesting because a lot of it said that his coverage skills were questionable.
Well, he's 5th round pick too, so he's coachable.
Right. But what's interesting, when I read that and when I thought about it, when I saw what the Seahawks were doing, I was like, well, maybe his coverage skills were a little questionable because he was out of position. Put him over in a Seahawks type system and teach him our techniques, and it sounds like he might be a guy that really fits in there and can thrive. So I think he's our kind of guy. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, Mark, you all for it?
Well, from what I've read overall, I like the pick. I mean, and again, he certainly, it adds. I think he will. Well, who knows? You can get playing time at any time with injuries and anything like that. But I mean, from what I've read overall, I do like it, and in that spot. So,
Maddie,
yeah, happy. I mean, again, as we said, I mean, he's has got gull arms. I mean, he's just huge arms, tall. Yeah, as we've said, he fits the mold. We won't see him this year, but a development in prospect, good.
Yeah, pretty good. Sounds to me on one of the 5th round picks, which is Jamarco Jones. Chris, we may have actually gotten a starting offensive lineman with the 5th round. Could that be possible?
Good, yeah. I wrote about him on the website a couple of days ago, and I can see it going one of two ways. I could literally see it being not making it through. Well, I mean, he's probably going to make it through camp, but not making it onto the roster, not doing anything. Mm-hmm. And I could equally see him being a day one starter. He's a really tough guy to gauge because obviously he was so poor in his athletic testing, but it almost seems like an anti-Tom Cable pick, which, based on how Tom Cable's drafted over the last few years, I'm not against that at all. He's,
right.
Where's the downside?
When you watch him on tape, he's fantastic. He's really, really good, but his athletic testing is awful. But interestingly, another lineman that tested really, really badly, but puts it all out on tape is Andrew Norwell. The guy that just got the left guard. He was from the Panthers. I think he's now with the Jaguars. He got a record saying I think it was $66.5 million contract, and he tested appallingly as well. So.
Wow.
It's not all about athletic testing. Sometimes you just have
Chris
to trust
and
and rely on what you see on tape, and he's going to put it out on the field. And if he's poor in in the weight room or on the practice field, then he puts it all together on the game day. Does it really matter? No, I don't think it does.
Yeah. Dustin, you're right. They say Jaguars the same way, don't they?
They do. They certainly do.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Dustin?
I mean, I think that's awesome that they pronounce it the same way. That's how we know they're from England.
You said it correctly.
No, but I mean, he's an all-conference, first-team all-conference player this year as a senior.
Yeah.
And like Chris was saying, he was the dude that was athletically not impressive by most people's test. But at the end of the day, it's all about if you get the job done, if you don't. And this was the dude that got the job done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, our linemen that have been touted as super athletic, a lot of them have not got the job done.
Right.
I'm ready to maybe try that other way, and I'm rooting for it. So hopefully that works out for us.
Oh, me too. Mark, your thoughts on the offensive lineman?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a little something on him on I don't know if it was 12 Man Rising or one of the sites, and it was kind of a mixed bag. I mean, the most positive thing about anything to do with the line is the fact that we don't have cable coaching. And
enough said there.
So we'll see. I mean, it was nice to to make to pick at that position, by that point, and it's a good program where he came from. So
yeah, it is. Maddie, you going to have a Jamarco Jones drink after all this?
I was actually going to say, if anyone watching the draft, it was great because Jaguars had a pick from London, and they had this little girl sort of standing in between Claire Campbell and somebody else, and I can't think who it was, and it was the Will Dixon pick or whatever it was, and she said Jaguars, and they sort of looked as if say, "Is that us? Is that us?" She's thinking the right thing.
She's talking funny.
Is she talking funny? I don't understand what she said. What was the question?
Oh no! What do you think of Jamarco Jones? You can have
it
sounds like a drink, like you get a grande Jamarco Jones.
I'll have a long Jones. That's fine. Yeah. Again, I don't know anything about the pick, so it wasn't a case of me sitting there going, "Oh, this is great or bad." I know he's got bad earlobes. I know that much.
Bad earlobes.
That needs fixed. That needs to be fixed, and a neck that's sort of the same size as his head. And I'm always a bit worried about players who have necks that are exactly the same size and width of their heads. Because it's like, well, how does your helmet stay on? Do you know what I mean? It's sort of
wow.
A little bit like Ram Man out of He-Man. Do you remember?
I know Ram Man.
Ram Man out of He-Man.
Ram Man. Ram Man's a great guy, but he's no Ram Man.
But yeah, so I think he's got neck issues and earlobe issues. But other than that, yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine. But he's 6'4", 300 pounds or something.
Yeah. Will, it is I don't want to get too excited here, but are you telling me there's a chance that he might take right tackle and get rid of Effetti?
Well, Carroll said they were actually looking at him at left tackle, so gives him time to sit behind Dwayne Brown and develop a little bit. Carroll also said that George Fant would be getting a try at right tackle, so fingers crossed there. But with Jamarco Jones, the combine testing, it's a little bit of a concern, but sometimes I think we make too much of how somebody does at the combine. And you take his combine performance, okay, that was bad, but then you look at how he played at the collegiate level for Ohio State University, and he's just one of those guys where he may not look the best out there, but he just doesn't make mistakes. So I think he's got room on his frame to add a little bit more bulk. I think he can get a little bit stronger. And who knows, maybe when Dwayne Brown moves on or retires eventually, maybe he's ready to step in and we've got our left tackle for.
But what you're saying is it looks like there's a decent chance that we might open the season without Effetti in the starting lineup.
It's possible.
That dude, honestly, this dude might be like
Thank God!
Just a chance, Moses.
Celebrate!
So
Effetti will not be in
there's
the
a
starting
chance.
lineup this year! The penalty machine will be on the bench, baby! Woohoo!
Goodness.
In a way, this dude reminds me a little bit of Tatupu. He's not the biggest, not the most athletic, but he understands the game and he makes things happen. He can do his job. And at the end of the day, all you want is a dude that can do his job and be effective at it.
Maybe he can help if he
Unlike
doesn't make so many mistakes.
Hey, I'm just saying I'll be a little happy if that happens. Okay. I know we all want to talk about the punter, but before we get there, I'll go ahead. I mean, obviously, I said at the beginning, this draft had all the feels, and it had all the feels. I'll tell you the story here, and then you guys can kind of, I'll pick you one at a time here, and you can kind of tell your story. Obviously, Shaquem Griffin, amazing story. And what I wrote on Facebook was pretty much, forget the hand. He's been playing without a hand his whole life. That's not even an issue. Obviously, he's effective without his hand. It's not even an issue. My issue was his size, but I think they can work on that. The guy is a talented, angry, eaten quarterback kind of player that is going to be relentless. Even if his twin brother wasn't there. Even if he didn't have so much to prove to other people. The story here was I was watching the draft. My little Mo was next, and he started getting anxious. He wanted Shaquem Griffin on the team starting about the end of the 3rd round. And I was thinking 4th round, maybe 5th round, those first 2 picks, or we're going to have a problem. Is what I was thinking. So 4th round comes and goes, and he keeps telling me, when are they going to pick? When are they going to pick? And I said, they're coming up. And then I screamed they did it. And this kid, this 12-year-old, jumped around. Oh, I'm so happy. He came over to hug me for about a minute. I'm so happy. This is the best draft ever. And I think a lot of people felt that way. That's what happened in my house. But let's, Chris, what were your thoughts about the Griffin the Griffin draft pick? Obviously, there's a lot of intangibles there, but he's also just a damn good player, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely not just a feel-good story. Teams wouldn't waste a 5th round pick on a feel-good story that's not going to make it out of camp. It just wouldn't happen. They probably wouldn't even do that with a 7th round pick, to be.
No.
If they don't think this guy has a genuine chance, then they just wouldn't draft him. And he is a damn good football player. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can see him being used as a sort of situational third down linebacker, rushing the passer. But another thing I can see him being good at is as a guy. He's really good at negotiating himself around the field. He's good in space. He's good in traffic. Mm-hmm. I can definitely see, on teams like when we face like the Panthers, for example, I can see him just, sticking to Cam Newton. If Cam Newton tries to run, he's just going to shut it down. It's a fantastic pick.
And relentless motor.
Yeah, and I think we deserved a bit of, a bit nice feel-good story. We've had a pretty crappy run, haven't we? Richard Sherman being cut, Michael Bennett being traded, all the doom and gloom with how we've lost all our talent, and, with Paul Richardson gone, Jimmy Graham gone. It's nice to have good news for once.
I agree. Will, your thoughts?
Well, this is the first time in my life I ever jumped out of the chair and screamed with joy over a 5th round draft pick, I have to say.
Did it?
But I was like little Mo. I was sweating it too, especially when the Raiders traded in front of us in the 5th round.
I know.
Figured, oh, there we go. We go. But
I thought you would be rare too.
Chris is right. I mean, he's more than just a good story. And starting today with the rookie minicamp, he's got to be, because now he's got to prove it on the field. He's got to prove it every day. And I remember watching the Peach Bowl this year, and I'd heard of Griffin, of course, but just watching him in that game, he took that game over. Mm-hmm. And I was just so impressed with what that kid could do. And if he fails at this level, it's not going to be for lack of trying. But I watch him play, and I think Rufus Porter.
Oh, one of my all-time favorites, Rufus. Loved Rufus Porter.
And I think we're going to see Griffin. He's going to be a force on special teams from day one, and I think he'll work more and more into defense, and just wind him up, turn him loose, and see what you can do with him.
One of my favorite quotes from, and it was funny because none of the supposed draft experts, nobody panned the pick at all. I mean, they were like, this kid can play, blah, blah, blah. My favorite quote was from Mike Mayock, who said he was the best player on the field when they played Auburn. That, to me, speaks volumes. Yep. Mm-hmm. The best player on the field when you play a top 5 team from college football, he was still the best player on the field. I love that quote. Dustin, your thoughts?
Oh, well, my first thought was when that happened, I was like, sweet, Christmas presents are out of the way. Because I have twins that are 14 years old. Oh, that's right. They'll be 15 at Christmas. And they're going to get Shaquille and Shaquem Seahawks jerseys because they've outgrown their other ones.
Fantastic.
Whose hand are you going to cut off?
No, it depends on which one. I don't have a preference. I don't have a preference.
Chris, I want to explain something. No one ever listens to this show, so we just say whatever the hell we want.
Yeah, very true.
God, that was awesome.
Especially about
Dustin.
Dustin.
I was telling my wife the whole time through the draft, I was like, man, this kid is a really good player. I was like, I really hope we end up with him. The story's awesome. I love the story, but the dude can play. And I was telling her that I think the apprehension for a lot of teams is that there's certain techniques that they coach, and there's a certain way that football is taught.
Sure.
And you can't teach what he does because he doesn't have a hand, because all the other players have 2 hands. There's no coach out there that's ever experienced that. They can't coach the no left hand thing. Like, you just have to watch him, and he's adapted his own technique to tackle, and the dude is a solid tackler.
Yes, he is. But I think you just kind of, if I would think the coaches would just coach how you normally coach and let him adapt like he always adapts because he's done it his whole life.
Yeah, maybe that's the way you go. But I feel like that there was a lot of people that didn't know how to handle that, how to coach that, and they weren't sure if it would work because they can't coach it.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, he can play. He
Yeah.
was this conference player of the year.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, was that 2 seasons ago, and then this last year he was first team all conference. The dude can play, and he's gonna he's gonna help out the Seahawks a lot.
Right. Mark, also, just a side note, because everyone says, well, he played at UCF. UCF had, I think, 6 draft picks in the draft, so they had a pretty good team. What are your thoughts on Griffin?
Well, first, I like the pick, and I really was caught off guard on how, gracious NFL Network was.
Yes.
Even if people kind of look at it like, well, it's the perfect opportunity to exploit the whole, it's like, I don't know. It was really nice the way that whole thing unfolded in terms of the family. And, I thought that was, the kind of the highlight of one of the highlights of the whole draft, really. And as a player, I mean, he's just a great example of everything. I mean, it's no accident. Pete Carroll, he gets a good player, but also this guy's like a teacher already because you can't help but notice, the handicap, but the way he plays, it really isn't one, and that kind of thing. And he set an example for anybody who starts complaining.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Absolutely. There's
whether
stories
they
about
know
him in
it or
college
not, like
where
that subliminal message. And Carroll's huge on that kind of psychology. So behind all that gum snapping, is a pretty perceptive coach, So
Yeah.
I really like the pick. It's a great story,
Yeah,
and I think
it's a
that's going to be a good. I think I texted you a good infusion of youth and
Yes.
leadership already.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
this is the purging of kind of the bitterness that became part of Michael Bennett and Sherman and some of the ego wars or just the weird kind of, those guys are wonderful players and everything. You know what I mean? This is helping change it's a good infusion for the locker room. Things are getting kind of like, recalibrated, if you
Agreed.
will.
Agreed.
You're right. There's a story about him. He's a different style of different character type player. Like when he was in college his senior year, he brought an air mattress in and slept in the film room.
Wow.
And was watching film. And then
Over
the
the
younger
summer
kids
as well.
came in and were trying to follow his lead and watch what he was doing to see what it takes to be a high quality player. And the kid is just character wise amazing. I mean, who does that? Who brings in a mattress in college
fantastic.
to a film room and watches film that way?
He's
Fantastic.
a tone setter, isn't he?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
And yeah, Maddie, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this was an emotional pick. It was weird. Every Saturday I spend the whole day with my sister and we bake together and do whatever the hell we're going to do. But we also watch the draft because my sister's a Panthers fan. It's not her fault. Watching it together and sitting down, I said to her at the very beginning when we started watching the coverage, I don't really care what happens, but we've got to get Shaquem Griffin because it felt fate. There's some sort of, it just felt right. That was ours. He was ours, and that just felt that way. We've got a history of taking these sorts of things. Derek Coleman, obviously having Derek Coleman on the team that we did as well. He was the chap who was deaf, wasn't he?
He was.
We have a history of not letting disability necessarily get in the way of, pushing forward players and saying that they can do just as well as any other player. And this is true here. I think the only insensitive thing I've seen so far, really, from the NFL is that they listed his hands as 9 inches on their website, and I think that they probably could have dropped the S at the end of that one. But he's a solid football player. He's got a fantastic backstory. He's already going to be plugged into the community. He's already going to have, as NFL Network was saying, there's going to be a following that comes with him as well. There is going to be expectation upon him, and I think that might be, there is going to be a level of pressure, I think, weirdly enough.
Yeah, there will be.
And that might be a good thing. What I do like, though, again, is that we're drafting people. We have players on our team that have something to prove. What I don't want on a team is a bunch of divas who really the only proof that they want is how much money they can make at their contract. And I'm quite happy to have gotten rid of some of the divas, and I know that these are fan favorites, and I know that's going to be controversial, and I know there's going to be fans out there that will hate on that because I've said it, but moving them aside, pushing, getting them out of the team and moving on to a new batch means that we start getting some of that hunger back to win, and that
Yes.
hunger back to be, to have a bit of a chip on our shoulder, to be the Doug Baldwins, to be the angry guys in the field. If you've got something to prove, you're likely to play harder. You're likely to play. Okay, you might make some mistakes. Don't get me wrong, but you're likely to play harder. And I want to see that. I want to see that development. I love a good story. I love a good backstory. I think this is a fantastic pick. I was so nervous. I screamed. I mean, I'm a gay man, so people say I scream all the time, but I screamed like a bloody child sitting on that sofa watching the television come through when that came on. And my sister was like, I wish my sister was videoing it, because that's the passion that football brings in me, when that happens. Right. And I was jumping around off the sofa, and I was all over the shop. This was a fantastic pick. I can't wait to see what happens with this. Great backstory. The whole story of the draft for me.
Absolutely.
Well, the pressure thing. Here's what I'll tell you about that, man. His brother Shaquille. We were looking for a starting cornerback opposite Richard Sherman for how long? And that dude stepped in. He stepped up. He played that game. Yeah. And then Sherm got hurt. And then Shaq ended up being the number one guy.
Right.
And he had to deal with that pressure and roll through it. And I guarantee you 100%, knowing my twins, who was there for his brother during that pressure situation that he lived through? Shaquem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he's already prepared for it mentally. He knows how it is. He's lived through it vicariously through his brother.
Yes.
So I don't think that's going to be an issue.
I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I just think that I hope that.
But it's going to be there to be.
It's going to be a factor. Some players are not going to have. Jones isn't going to have that pressure on him. Do you know what I mean? People like him. You can see him on the field. He's going to step onto that field with extra pressure, and I hope he's as you say, he's going to be able to handle and deal with that. I don't think that's a bad thing, though. I think expectations is a good thing. Set goals, set aims, and beat them. And I think he's done it his entire life. So I think no reason for him not to do it going forward.
Just a great story.
Sorry, can you just imagine what the atmosphere is going to be like when he makes his play at Central?
Oh my God!
Yes,
literally,
it's going to be berserk.
Yeah,
it's going to make Beastquake look like a walking park, isn't it?
People are going to be bawling. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy because it's going to happen. Yeah, it really is. Something that I thought was awesome to segue into our last 5th round pick. I know Mark was not happy about this, but we did trade up to get a punter, Michael Dixon from Australia. And I know Mark was not happy about this. Mark, were you happy about this?
I would have gone line, but
in a word, no. Mark was a little chippy, but and I'm going to kind of take this one a little bit, and then we'll pass it around. But to me, after it happened. First off, I think 4 punters went after that, right? Almost right after that. So obviously there was something there. But if you research this guy,
on punters, which is weird.
A punter run. But I'm telling you, this guy. I'm going to throw these stats out, and then I'm going to turn it to Chris on what he thought of this pick. A lot of people are saying this kid may not just be the best punter ever of the year, or he may be the best punter ever to come out of college. He had 84 punts last year. Half of them down inside the 20, 33 fair caught, and only 8 touchbacks. In that magnificent game of the Texas Bowl where he got MVP, that's right, the punter got the MVP of the game. 11 punts, 7 of them landed inside the 10, 4 of those inside the 5. And if you watch the highlights, these things just die. They get to the 5 and they just sit there. This kid is something special, Chris, isn't he?
He really, really is. I mean, he was always been pegged as a sort of fifth round draft pick, so it shouldn't be a surprise as to his draft stock. I mean, some people had him as a 3rd round. I mean, I'd have probably been a bit furious if we picked Michael Dixon instead of Rasheem Green, but with a 5th round pick, we got cheaper, we got younger, and we got better at a position that's really undervalued. So it's fantastic. You don't need a punter until you need one, do you? And when if you have one that's knocking them back inside the 20, and begging so punt returners can't return the ball, then it's so Pete Carroll preaches, doesn't he, about field position? Yeah. So it's a good pick. I was shocked at first. I was really shocked at first. My jaw just dropped, but love it. Yeah, really, really like it.
From Australia, where a lot of great punters are coming from. Will?
Well, I'll just tell a little story about a game that I remember. This is way back in 2004. It's the second game of the year. It's at Tampa Bay, so it's hotter than hell. our offense is stuck in neutral the entire game, and yet somehow we eke out a win because Tom Ruin kept punting and pinning Tampa Bay back in their own territory the whole game, and they were having as much trouble moving the ball as we were. And we won the field position game largely because Ruin was just, ruining them, really.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I know. Okay, bad pun. Yeah, I was a little surprised, too, when we traded up for a punter. I think I admitted that on Facebook when it happened. But, punters are players, too. And you get a good punter who can flip field position like that, who can pin teams deep. I mean, we punt the ball, we pin the other team back behind their 5-yard line. Chances are they're going to be punting it right back to us in short order, and we're going to get it near midfield.
Yeah.
So, hey, if this guy is as good as advertised, it's going to be a good pick.
We're talking Australian, man, not Canadian. Come on.
Dustin, what are your thoughts?
What's that all about?
My thoughts were, first thought when I saw Louis drafted a punter in the 5th round, I was like, all right, that's a salary cap move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then I looked into him, and he looks like he's going to be a good punter. What I really, really hope for is that during training camp, either after we cut Ryan or maybe even when he's still there, if this dude gets a press conference, he says, because I just want to hear this, John Ryan's not a punter. I'm a punter.
That's not a knife.
Crocodile Dundee all over.
It's an old film reference, that one.
Wow, there's some Crocodile Dundee from the young kid.
Yep.
Maddie.
Yes.
Stop that.
Well, for me, this was one of the, I was still sort of a bit Griffin drunk at this point. So I was still,
sure.
I was in the kitchen, I was sorting out whatever we're getting. My sister shouted through, "Oh, you've traded up. And I'm like, "Oh, have we?" And I didn't turn around. She went, "For a punter." And I'm like, and that's that moment where you sort of have that sort of, there's a silence in the kitchen when I just sort of digest that information, and I just go, yeah, okay, whatever, whatever. And I thought, I have to say, it did take me a while, but I thought exactly the same as Dustin, which was like, well, that's a John Ryan replacement. That's a, what is it, 3 million, 5 million cap, whatever it is.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a fair chunk of change, and it's going to be a cap space thing. It's very sad. It means the end of an era.
Very sad.
At the same token, it does, looking at it, and you're absolutely right, there was a little flurry of punters that then proceeded to be picked that round.
Yeah.
We got the best of what was available. So,
I think so.
How can you complain if you get the best of what is available in the draft?
There you go.
Can you?
That punter and running back at the time.
Yeah, true. Mark,
Yes.
do you feel any better?
How can anyone complain when we get the best of what's available? And then there's Mark.
And then there's Mark who's going to complain.
And there's Mod.
Then there's Mark who's going to complain.
Well, anyway, yes, I mean, it was surprising, but of course, I mean, again, when you read about this guy, he sounds, like he was, he led the nation, and the nice thing in the kicking game is that hopefully, it'll be a fairly easy transition because all you're asking, you're punting. I mean, it's kind of like
it's not a big learning curve there.
So
you're
easy,
punting, man. You're punting.
Yeah, it's like just make sure that you get it off in time. Sorry, and I just realized this entire show is like the Da Vinci Code.
It
and
is.
It's just unreal. Anyway, so he's a great player, but yes, I would have gone blind. I would have gone another defensive back. I would have gone for depth elsewhere if it were me. But I mean, he is good, and it can until some points are scored if a game's in just really run down and slow. I mean, flipping the field and all that is very important. So
he seems like the kind of equalizer that we need in the first half of games because our offense starts so slow most of the time. And if he can pin people back where they need to be pinned, we should be able to survive that and move on with our lives and win games.
That might have been Schneider taking a shot at our offense too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that will we'll stop the third quarter right there.
It's the end of the third quarter, bitches.
Oh, coming up, we have so much more show. We're going to talk about the 6th round, the 7th round, the undrafted free agents. We're going to give a quick grade about the draft of the Seahawks. You are listening to the 12-Man Fan Jam Show, 100% podcast, 50% calories. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. This is Statsman Mark, and when I'm not listening to Charo's greatest hits on 8-track tape, I'm listening to the 12-Man Fan Jam Show.
Holy shit, it's the fourth quarter.
Ah, yes, it's the time for the fourth and final quarter of episode 604 of your 12-Man Fan Jam Show. In this ridiculous accent, we will look at the 6th and 7th round draft picks as well as our undrafted free agents. 6th round pick, Jake Martin, linebacker out of Temple. 7th round pick, Alex, is it McGough?
I'm calling him
Crime
Magoo.
Dog? We're calling him Crime Dog. The quarterback from Florida International Airport. Okay. I believe, Chris, you were going to tell us about Martin. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously the 6th round pick for the Seahawks. He's basically the Cliff Averill replacement. He's a Leo guy. So I mean, he's got a really good motor. He's quick. He's got some good speed. But he's pretty light. I think he's this may not be exact, but I think he's around 238, which is pretty light for a Leo. I think Cliff Averill's more around 260. Mm-hmm. But give him a year in an NFL conditioning environment, and he could easily, well, I'm assuming, bulk up. So again, he's probably my least exciting draft pick of the 9, but it's there's again, it's the potential there. That's what seems to be ringing true with this draft. There's just so much potential. Jacob Martin probably isn't going to become a star in this league, but become a rotational piece for a position where we're lacking a bit of depth at the defensive end. Rather than how can you complain about that?
Yeah, good point. I can't.
Mark, how can you complain?
Well, let me tell you, Matt.
Let me tell you the story. Picture it.
There's some kind of story behind that. I've heard, when you've heard
we have to pick linemen, and we have to do it faster.
No, when you've heard as many buzz sounds as I have, you become so jaded.
I don't want to hear about those buzz sounds you've been hearing.
That's because you haven't turned off yet. Yeah.
7th round, Alex McGough, the crime dog, quarterback from Florida International.
Dog.
Yeah, the dude we drafted from the airport. Yeah.
Will.
He was in terminal with Tom Hanks.
Oh, God.
Well, I had the Seahawks in my mock going quarterback in the 7th round, so I wasn't too shocked.
You did.
That we picked one. I like this kid. I hadn't really heard much about him, but watching his highlights at the airport terminal there, you watch. I mean, the guy has good mobility, can run around, move around in the pocket, accurate, throws a real pretty ball. Doesn't have the biggest arm, so deep going deep might be a problem. The deep pass, but I tried to think of a way I could say that wouldn't make Matt laugh, and obviously I failed.
You did well.
But I'm tired of the Trevon Boykins of the world, and wondering, okay, who are we going to sign as to be our backup quarterback this year, and what all that's going to do. So I really hope that we can develop this kid, that he can be our Tavares Jackson for us. Just a reliable backup for Russell Wilson for the next several years.
Yes.
The only concern that I have is that the NFL have given him no grade and hasn't even bothered to get a mugshot for him for the website. Which kind of tells me something.
Damn it. Undrafted free agents. There's a whole slew of them. Oh, and real quick on Alex, on the quarterback. I guess Russell's got problems because I guess today, as we're recording this, they had their first rookie mini camp, and I guess Coach Carroll was just gushing about this quarterback. So look out, Russell. You got competition. Yeah. So undrafted free agents, Dustin. Who's an undrafted free agent you kind of like out of this list?
Well, I kind of looked at everything that they did with the undrafted free agents, and I think there's some themes here. We got 3 wide receivers that they signed, all more over 6 foot. That's a good thing. We need some bigger receivers. We don't really have that on the roster. Yeah. Other than McAvoy. So we need some competition there. Brought in a couple of fullbacks. That speaks to what they're doing for the running game.
Yes.
Trying to establish
fullback, please. I want fullback.
Me too.
Yeah. They got two of them, and they're both big physical people, so that's a good thing.
Agreed.
Something that I thought was kind of weird, they signed 4 linebackers, but really only one of them has NFL size, and that's Jake Pugh. He's 6'4", 246 out of Florida State. I don't know if he's going to make team or not, but he's got the size to do it. And then we got the most interesting one to me, honestly. Well, before I say the most interesting player, one player had a great comment from a scout, which I thought was awesome. And Skylar Phillips out of Idaho State, one scout said his arms look like thighs.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I saw that too. That was great.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Kind of Robert Turbin-esque, no?
Right.
Yeah.
But a guy that Will's actually going to be able to talk about also is Puna Ford.
Puna.
Yep, I like that guy. I don't know why he wasn't drafted. He's all Big 12 honors as a junior, first team all conference in 2017. He's 6'3", he's 318, he's got NFL size. I don't understand why he wasn't drafted. But I think he might be a guy that's gonna if he's not practice squad, he'll be on the team, and I think Will could probably talk more about him than I can.
Well, Puna Ford, you got the weight pretty much right, but not the height. He's actually 5'11", which I think plays a role into why he wasn't drafted.
Right, I apologize.
Yep, no biggie. But there's nothing wrong with that either, because he's already got leverage on the guy he's blocking. He's so short.
Right.
Definitely has a chip. Already had a chip on his shoulder because he didn't get an invite to the combine, and not being drafted, I figure that chip only got bigger. So,
yeah, part of the battle is getting your hips lower than the
watch.
other dude, and he's a guy that can get his hips lower and put some positive pressure. If you get pressure up him on the heels, makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Chris, what undrafted free agent did you kind of like on that list?
There's 4 that I really like. I mean, the first one is Caleb Scott. He's the wide receiver out of, I think it's Vanderbilt.
Right.
He is. I mean, if you look at his stats, you'd say, yeah, he's definitely qualifies for the sort of undrafted side of things. He hasn't really done much, but he has flashed. I mean, last year I think he started with from an off-season injury. He didn't play in all the games. I think he started in about 6. But he has flashed. I mean, in 2016, he had 117 yards receiving against Tennessee. So he has shown that he can put up good numbers. If he can come into camp.
He's a big receiver too, 6'2", 203, 4.46 speed. So he's not slow.
Exactly. Yeah, he's people have been comparing him to a potential Adam Thielen because he was a drafted free agent as well. So if we can pick up an Adam Thielen in undrafted free agency, or as a bit close to him, Doug Baldwin, then great.
I'll allow it. Excellent.
Yeah, so I'm really high on him. Another guy I'm really high on is Khalid Hill. I had him in the 5th. I thought he was going to get drafted. He was unanimously the best fullback, and with Pete's commitment to the run game, I was amazed that they didn't draft a fullback actually. But lo and behold, he seems to have signed a deal in free agency. So, yeah, that's another solid pick. I'll be surprised if he doesn't make the team.
I think Hill's got a really good shot, to be honest.
Good.
He'd be kind of almost a Will Tukuafu, I think, for us.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, sometimes we mentioned this before. Sometimes they get the 6th and 7th round, and they won't draft a kid that they think will slide to free. And they'll call him and say, "Look, we're not going to draft you, but we want you here."
Yeah.
Right.
And so, that might be one of those cases there.
I think so too. Like I said, he's a big boy, and he might fill a Will Tukuafu type role.
Will Tukuafu type role.
Type role.
All right.
Of the world.
Hey, I'm going to go one last roundtable question to everybody tonight. We're going to start with Mark. I'm going to ask you to grade the draft. Mark, what grade would you give this draft looking at it right now at this point?
Well, good. This is time to play one of the pundits on the networks. You know what? B-.
B-.
I do like overall. I like what we did. I think some of the timing, wish were different, but overall, I'm certainly happier with this draft than others that we've had for sure.
Yeah.
that
All
kind
right.
of a compliment?
Yeah. Will, give us a draft grade.
Emotionally, I give it an A. Right now, I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah.
Because until I see these guys out on the field and see what they can do.
Of course.
But it's definitely got potential to be our best draft in years, which sadly is not saying a whole lot. But I really like the potential of this group. So B for now. I think my grade will be revised upward.
I hope you're right. Dustin?
I'm right there with Will. I think it's probably the best draft we had in a couple of years. We wanted to address the running game. We needed pass rush. And I think that we did that both through personnel and through scheme. Personnel that fit the scheme, even though they weren't necessarily the people that others thought we should draft. I'm going to say B+, and I think 2-3 years from now, that would be upgraded if we look back.
Fantastic. Matt?
I'm going to give it a B+. I think this was a difficult draft in as much as we had a lot of needs and not so many picks to be able to do some things with them because of trades and stuff that we'd done in season. But no, I think this is the Griffin pick included as with that emotional bit that Will says boost this up for me. I've got high hopes for it. But again, until we see them out there on the field, who knows? But yeah, B+ at the moment.
Of course. And Chris?
I'd give it an A.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I like
it. Just if anything, just for the potential of these guys. It's not. None of these guys could potentially be sort of world record setters, but every single pick just seems to reset the culture and just force all the. It comes down to people addressing the problems that they had with the team, and people thinking they're above the team, and it just seems to reset everything. It resets the culture. It resets the locker room. It just adds a good vibe to this team. I wasn't particularly excited about next season. Certainly, I really didn't enjoy last year. Now I cannot wait for the season to start. And the majority of that is because of these draft picks. What they're going to bring to the football team, not necessarily what they're going to bring to the field in the first year, but what they're going to bring to the team as a whole. And I think these picks, especially Shaquem, just going to resonate across the whole roster. He's going to make every single player better. When you're in training and these guys are working hard, they're going to look over and see Shaquem just working 10 times harder. And that's these guys are competitive. These guys are not going to like seeing him work harder than them. It's just going to have a knock-on effect. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Really excited.
Wonderful. Well, here's what I look at it. We probably got a starting running back. We got an interior pass rusher that has the potential to be another Michael Bennett, or at least a poor man's Michael Bennett. We got the best blocking tight end in the draft. We got an amazing story and probably the best motor in the draft on defense. We got a great hybrid cornerback safety. We got the best punter in the NCAA maybe over the last multiple years. We got a possible starting tackle, right tackle, or whatever. And finally, we got another edge rusher, and we've got a quarterback that seems to be, even as we speak, wowing Carroll at practice. I give it a B+. Yeah, I give it a B+. I think it's fantastic, and I think this show has been fantastic. Chris Chaney joining us from Hawk Talk and Seahawks.net. Chris, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us on this episode.
Really appreciate having you on. Really enjoyed myself.
It's been a pleasure.
Definitely like to come back.
We definitely want to have you come back. There's no question about that.
Good.
But right now, it looks like it's time to bring another wonderful and amazing 12-man fan jam show to a sad close. We're glad that you're here. You decided to waste some time with us. We hope you learned a little bit. What did we learn in this episode? We learned a lot. We learned that punters are people too. Mark wants to get it off on time. There's nothing like teabagging before bed. We learned that Rasheem Green needs new eyelashes and Jamarco Jones needs his earlobes fixed.
So we solidified our 12-year-old.
We definitely did that.
Is this a new person for you then, Moses? Is Rasheem Griffin going to be a new person for you to remember?
Apparently, it's taking the place of Bruce Turpin. Yes,
it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So, on behalf of my partner in crime, Matt, who pointed that out, our new sound Shadowhawk Will, Statsman Mark, Dustin as the Beaver, Chris Chaney, Roger Goodell, Mozette, Little Mo. This is Moses saying until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
The Hawks.
Bruce Turbin, I can't believe it.
Bruce Turbin, Rasheem
That
Griffin.
was
That's
awesome.
going to stick. That is Rasheem Griffin.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.